Hi guys, it is week 3 of distance learning and I am here again this week to go through our week with you all, read some of the text with you all, and then go through our questions with you guys so that it's a little easier to complete the work this week, hopefully. Some updates. So at the end of this video, I will talk about your Kahoot. I'm gonna have to find my iPad so I can pull it up. Thank you to all of you who did the Kahoot. Thank you to everybody who's been getting the assignments done. You guys have been doing an amazing job. I'm very, very proud of you. And I had another announcement. Oh, for your PowerPoint this week, and I will show you, I tried to put it in English and Spanish for my parents that are helping and you read in Spanish just to kind of help a little bit. Also, I tried to put all the assignments in Spanish or give the option for you to translate or use the forms in Spanish. So hopefully that's a little more helpful this week. Let's share my screen. All right, I can't see anything, so bear with me. There we go. Okay. So I've taken you to our team page, which is the general page. As you'll see, I did post this morning a good morning message from my favorite Snow. Just kind of telling you guys that you did amazing. I put the link to the PowerPoint for this week right up under there. So that's the link. It does not have the one for Spanish, but I'm gonna go show you where to find it. And then as you can see, it puts some of your assignments there, not all of them. It's missing the ELA assignment, but it is in the assignments and you should be able to work on it. So we're gonna go to files. And once you go to files, you will go to class materials is where I'm putting everything now. I'm gonna go get rid of those other folders so you don't get confused. If you notice me looking like in the corner, it's because my Zoom is over there. So I can actually see myself over there. Okay, so, and I'm gonna try to stop saying because that's annoying. So you have 2 PowerPoints here. You have the distance learning 3 and then the distance learning 3 Spanish. So just click on whichever one is helpful. Sadly, it will not let me do the text in Spanish, so that's still gonna be in English, but all of the directions in that stuff is in Spanish. So I'm gonna go to my own PowerPoint. Hopefully this is the right one. All right, so this is distance learning week 3, and my PowerPoint, you're gonna notice, is gonna look the same every week just for the uniformity, and so it's not confusing, you're used to it, and it's easy to work through. Your weekly to-dos. So this week, read the text. This week's text will be used for reading and writing, so you don't have 2 separate texts. Last week you had 3 texts. This week you only have this reading text, which you will use for reading and writing, and then the social studies text that's all below. You will complete the 9 questions for reading this week. I combined them all to have 1 ELA assignment, so you're not trying to do 2. You will complete the essay for the week. Make sure you upload a Word document, which you no longer have to upload a Word document. You just need to do each paragraph in the text box. So it'll give you what I'm expecting for each paragraph, and then you do each paragraph in the text box. If you are one of my packet learners, then you will just do it on a sheet of paper. And then complete the 2 social studies assignments. One is the Unit 4 wrap-up. So that one is in there as social studies assignment 6, because also the packet kids will be doing it, but they get to draw like a cross and it's a little easier. Then the other one is the questions that the packet kids have, but I've taken the questions for the online learners and put them all together in one. So that's what you guys will be working on. Reading and writing text, the fun they had. So this week our text is the fun they had. When I did the Kahoot, if you did the challenge, which I'll do another challenge this week, and I promise to send it out earlier so you have the week to kind of get the challenge done. I noticed when I asked questions like, what point of view is this? Or how was this story told, make sure you're paying attention to the fact that if it says point of view, that's going to be person. So it's going to say person behind it, first or third person. If I'm asking you how it's being told, first or second hand account, remember that first or third person is going to be a fiction text. And then a first or second hand account is going to be a nonfiction text, usually information, which is our nonfiction text. We say they're informational text. And they will be historical, scientific, or technical. So this week, it looks totally different than our text, but it's the right text. This week, our text is the fun they had. Notice it gives you the target skill, which is author's purpose. So use text details to figure out the author's reasons for writing. And we talk about this all the time. Was the author writing to persuade the reader? So to make you come around to their way of thinking, to inform the reader. So that would be to give you information that you didn't previously have, or to give you more information about something you previously had information on. Or are they writing to entertain the reader, which basically just for your entertainment, to make you laugh, to make you think, to make you wonder? What are they writing for? Author's purpose. So you would, while you're reading through, think about that. And then the genre is science fiction. So notice this word, fiction, means that this is a text that is not a real text, right? Somebody thought this up, they imagined it, and now they're writing to you, the reader. So it says science fiction is a story set in the future and is based on scientific ideas. As you read, look for characters who may or may not act like real people, technology of the future, and events that cannot happen in real life today. So this lets you know that this author is most likely writing to entertain the reader. And I have a feeling that it's going to make us think. So your author is Isaac Asimov, and he's one of the world's best known science fiction writers. His work helps people take science fiction more seriously. Isaac saw his first science fiction magazine in his father's candy store. After writing his first 300 books, he said, "Writing is more fun than ever. The longer I write, the easier it gets." So notice the writer or author is different than the illustrator. So this illustrator then got the text, and based on what he read is what he drew. So just think about that when you're reading. And our illustrator is Alan Flynn. So the fun they had from Isaac Asimov, the complete stories by Isaac Asimov, selection illustrated by Alan Flynn. So if you notice, because we should look at our text features, we have automatically a picture, and you can see like this looks like a big screen of some sort, and it has like she has a disc, so we can assume that this disc is probably going to go into that slot there. And we have an essential question. So our essential question says, how do inventions change the way we do things? So as you're reading, this is what you're thinking about. How do inventions change the way that we do things? We as in humans. So automatically, that helps you as the reader connect to this story, because you're thinking about, oh, if I were to interact with this invention, how would I use this? And what would it change that I'm already doing? Margie I'm making sure that goes together. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed May 17th, 2157, she wrote, "Today, Tommy found a real book." It was a very old book. Margie's grandmother once said that when he was grandfather, once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen, And then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that had when they read it the first time. Gee, said Tommy, what a waste. When you're through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away. Same with mine, said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen in as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. She said, where did you find it? In my house. He pointed without looking because he was busy reading in the attic. What's it about? School. Margie was scornful. School? What's there to write about school? I hate school. So notice we just read, and I kind of like the fact that in the PowerPoint, the pages aren't next to each other because you have to read it and imagine it while you're reading it, and then you get to see what the illustrator saw when he read the words. So you can see clearly this is supposed to be set futuristically, even though her shoes look like Uggs to me. Might just be me. So you see there's a flying vehicle of sorts, and then there's, this kind of reminds me of like the building, the little towers you see at the airport, the control centers. And then they're sitting inside and they have this book, and they are amazed at this book because, as we read, they have telebooks. So all their books show up on the TV and their words move, whereas the books we read are tangible books that you can open up and the words stay on one page. So then let's look at a text feature. It says analyze the text. Genre, science fiction. Many science fiction stories take place in the future. How does a futuristic setting affect what could happen in the story? We as readers need to think about the fact that since this is in the future, basically the author can write whatever they want, and you can't say you're wrong or that's not going to happen because you haven't been there, so you don't know. So that's kind of cool about the writing of science fiction, because you can go as far as your brain wants to take you with your imagination, and no one can tell you you're wrong. So then we have another illustration, and we see there's a guy here. And we can say he's here for many things. If you notice, his logo on his shirt matches the logo here. So he's probably someone who knows how to work with this machine. And then he has stuff hooked up to it, so he might be fixing it. This is an adult, and they kind of look alike, so that might be her mom. Let's see. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and square and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the mark in no time. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted Margie's head. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick. Those things happen sometimes. I've slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory." And he patted Margie's head again. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blacked out completely. So I want to go back to the other page, because now we know that unlike Miss Calhoun, who's in front of you right now and teaching you virtually, this machine is her teacher. And that disc that she had, we'll go back, in her hand on this page is actually her work. So that is a difference, right? Miss Calhoun just helped you from your schooling in Margie's schooling, her main character. And this is her mom, and then this guy can fix the teacher, which is interesting because when the author wrote this, he's still kind of proving that the machines can't work without us. So then analyze the text. Formal and informal language. Does the inspector use formal or informal language? How does the way he speaks compare to Margie and Tommy's dialogue on page 746? So, she said to Tommy, why would anyone write about school? Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. He added loftily, pronouncing the word carefully, centuries ago. Margie was hurt. Well, I don't know what kind of school they had all that time ago. She read the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, anyway, they had a teacher. Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. A man? How could a man be a teacher? Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions. A man isn't smart enough. Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. A man can't know as much as a teacher. So he can't. A man can't know as much as a teacher. He knows almost as much, I betcha. We look at our illustration, we see this male teacher and he has a book and an apple, and you see his students and you see that it looks like he's teaching them geography, which makes a lot of sense because the author talks about how they're coming to fix her geography teacher because it's not working right. I think it's really funny that they say a man can't be a teacher because some of you have had male teachers like Mr. Corin, and you see male educators like Mr. Kane and Mr. D. Wright. So that's really funny. And let's see. I think that's it. Something came to my mind and then it left. So hopefully it comes back. Do notice that we know that when a word is highlighted, it is a vocabulary word. So make sure you pay attention to those. I didn't put your vocabulary up, but you have a lot of vocabulary words. And the fun thing with these vocabulary words is that you should know them all because they're words that we've come in contact with for the past 2 years. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that. She said, I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me. Tommy screamed with laughter. You don't know much, Margie. The teachers didn't live in the house. They had a special building, and all the kids went there. And all the kids learned the same thing? Sure, if they were the same age. But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book. I didn't say I didn't like it, Margie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called. Margie, school. Margie looked up. Not yet, Mama. Now, said Miss Jones. And it's probably time for Tommy too. Margie said to Tommy, can I read the book some more with you after school? Maybe, he said nonchalantly. He walked away whistling, the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm. I'm trying not to say so. In thinking about the story so far, we know that basically school as we know it is prehistoric and old and weird to them because they're set in the future and they have teachers that are machines. And then they have gotten a hold of a book that tells them about schooling as you know it. So that's really cool because as a reader, now you're only 9 or 10. You feel like an old person because these kids are much, much younger than you in the future. Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on and waiting for her. It was always on at the same time every day, except Saturday and Sunday, because her mother said little girls learned better if they learned at regular hours. The screen was lit up, and it said, today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. Margie did so with a sigh. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came, laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things so they could help one another on the homework and talk about it. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add the fractions, 1/2 and 1/4, hopefully that's right because it looks a little interesting on my screen. Margie was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. And then we have another text feature, analyze the text, author's purpose. Why do you think the author wrote this story? What story details show his purpose? Keep in mind that the story was first published in 1951. Guys, I want you to do the math on how long ago 1951 was. It was before my parents were born. So let's go through, and then you see the picture. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. I think what's really cool about this, especially at this time for us, is that you guys are having to distance learn. So a lot of you are learning via the internet, and then if you're at home and you've been doing my Kahoots or you're getting my remind messages, you're still interacting with technology. So the really fun thing about this is if this was written in 1951, there were no computers yet. So his imagination was pretty cool because this isn't really far off. You can input a CD into a computer. We don't do it anymore. That was more so when Miss Calhoun was your age and coming up. Now you can turn things in completely electronically without having to use a CD. So there's the difference. Notice that their drawing of this has no keyboard, which is why you're able to do that without the disc. You can type on the keyboard and you can give instructions verbally. There's so many different things you can do. So when you are doing the writing assignment, I want you to think about those differences between you guys as students in 2020, and this is like even 100 years. We're gonna go back to the beginning eventually, 2157. Right? So that's still so many years from now, right? So just think about that. We're almost in May. We're not going to rush it. It's still April. We're almost in May. So we're going to go look at our assignments for reading before I go on to writing so I can help you think through your questioning. And what I will do is I will go to your map so that I can read it straight from your map. You guys have the same thing. So number one under Tuesday says, what detail from the text explains why Margie was surprised to see a real book in 2157? So remember, their books were given to them how? Did they have tangible books? Think about that. And that's at the very beginning on that first page of text. 2, compare the book Tommy found with the ones that the characters used. How are the books alike and different? So this is a direct extension from question 1. When you get to question 2, it's wanting to know the similarities and differences. So they should have said compare and contrast, but they want to know the similarities and the differences. So make sure you give both. 3, what can you infer from Margie's mother's decision to send for the county inspector? Remember, infer means that they did not give you the details explicitly, so they did not state this is why her mother called the inspector. They give them to you implicitly, so you have to infer and you have to imply that the reason why the mother called him was because she really what? Right? That's the question you're answering. Then when you get to 1 on Wednesday, April 15th, it says, what makes Tommy feel superior? Superior. You have to figure out what the word superior means. And then think about what made him feel like he was better, gave you a hint, than Margie. 2 under that one is, what is Margie's opinion about whether machines make better teachers than people? So that's where you're gonna have to go back to the text and see where it says the word teachers and people were teachers. And that's gonna help you answer that question. 3, what does nonchalantly mean? What clues from the text help you understand the word? 2-part question. So first you need to answer, what does nonchalantly mean? And I say that about people all the time. Oh, they were so nonchalant about it. And then what clues from the text help you understand the word? So what context clues, what around the word nonchalantly helped you to know what that meant? Thursday, what details show that Margie thinks going to school with other kids would be fun? That was towards the end, and they explicitly state that. So make sure you go look at the end of that text. And then 2, do you think Margie's picture of going to school with other children is accurate? And you are pros on this because you go to school with other children. So do you feel like how she felt in the story is accurate with how you feel when you're going to school with your classmates? And then it says, take a look at the illustrations and the fun they had and review the text. Think about how the illustrations match the descriptions in the story. Then choose one illustration. List the details in the, that should say story, I fixed it on mine, that the artist likely used to create the artwork. Think about how I was reading it and then stopping to say something about the artwork when you were answering that question, because those words should give you a visual whether you have artwork or not. Think about some of our chapter books that don't have any pictures or illustrations. So what was the reason behind choosing to draw what the illustrator drew for you as a reader to see, to go along with the words? In writing, so we're going to do the Venn diagram together here. And then the writing, I split it up to make it 4 paragraphs for you to make it a little easier to understand what is wanted. So we're gonna go back to my presentation. So writing prompts. There should be 4 paragraphs when you finish this week's writing. So paragraph 1, I want you to stay in the mindset of an essay, because next year you're going to have to probably take the writing FSA, and you've missed a year of writing FSA, which was your first year to take it. So I want you to still be writing in the same format so you don't forget too much over summer break before you get to 5th grade next year. So in paragraph 1, write, that should say 3 sentences, I'll go fix it. Write a 3-sentence, I found the issue, introduction explaining whether or not you like the school and the story and if you would enjoy going there. So that's your preference. It's literally like a, yes, I would love to learn at home with a machine as my teacher, or no, I prefer having an actual person teach me, whatever your opinion, right? So paragraph 1 is your opinion. It should be at least 3 sentences. Paragraph 2, compare the imagined school in this week's reading text to your own school experience. Use facts and examples from your own school experiences, as well as text evidence and quotations from the story to develop and support your ideas. This is saying you're going to compare. So remember, compare means things that are alike. So look at the things that were similar between Margie's schooling and your schooling. And I should have an example from Margie's schooling and your schooling. And the example from her schooling is going to have quotations because that's what the author stated when you write. So that in itself is going to be probably 3 to 4 sentences. Then in paragraph 3, you're now going to contrast. So in paragraph 2, it was the things that were alike between your schooling and Margie's schooling. In paragraph 3, it's going to be the things that are different between your schooling and Margie's schooling. So it's the same concept. It's just making sure that paragraph 2 is alike and paragraph 3 is different. Helpful tip or hints, right? You could say something about the homework because your homework is different. Paragraph 4, in the fun they had, Margie learns from a mechanical teacher 5 days a week. Think about a technology product you use. So they gave you examples: video games, TV, phone. I'm going to throw out tablet, Nintendo Switch, those kind of things. What if that product had never been invented? Write a paragraph to tell how your life would be different if that product did not exist. So whether it's your favorite video game, the TV that you watch, your phone, your tablet, how would your life be different if you didn't have that? And that's going to be the 4 paragraphs. They want you to compare and contrast, and the thing I need is a note here. So give me a second. And you got to see my favorite ride at Disney is the Haunted Mansion and Magic Kingdom while I was gone. But if we're going to compare and contrast, I'll quickly draw it for you. You can see that. Okay. New. Okay, so when you compare and contrast, you have a bubble chart. Actually, I wonder if it's here at all. It is not. Miss Calhoun played herself. You have a bubble chart. So I'm going to try to draw a quick bubble chart where you have 2 bubbles that are inside of each other. Okay, and we're going to make this no fill. I'm gonna make this one no fill. Boom. So like this. And on this one, you will have compare. All right, let me make sure I'm doing it the same way. They did school today, both in future school. So you'll say for yourself, school today. Both future school. All right. So then we'll go in here, and for school today, we will say you have books, because that's something that automatically told you that they don't have. I keep looking over here. That's so funny. For both, and we'll say tangible books. Or actually, let's do, because they technically both have books. So we'll put books in the middle. Right here, we'll, in this bubble, we will have paper homework. Right? That's what school today has. In the middle, for both, they have books. They both have books. It's just one has tangible books, which means a book you can pick up and flip pages. And the other one has, they call them something specific, but basically ebooks. And then in the future school, they have disc homework. So that's what you're doing in these bubbles. And I don't like that these bubbles are totally different. I gotta make it a little less wide. So this is just an example of what you're doing on your own paper. So you have school today, both future school. In school today, there's paper homework. In both, they both have books. And then in future school, they had disc homework. And you're comparing and contrasting here first. And then when you're writing, you will use this diagram to help you with your writing, because it's going to give you your paragraph 2 here is going to be in both, and then paragraph 3 is going to come from the two sides. All right, then you have compare and contrast help that they have supplied for you. So it's telling you about comparing and contrasting and putting it together. I have asked you to separate, but the big thing that I want you to take away from this is the verbiage that they give you for when you're writing. So notice it says 2 subjects we have learned about this year are blank and blank. So blank and blank. One thing these have in common is, so you could literally start your paragraph 2 as one thing that my school and Margie's school have in common is, because you're comparing them, which means they are alike. So then you can start here, and then a word you could say is another. When you start your paragraph 3, you can use the word however, because now I'm telling you the difference. So I could say something like unalike. So is when you're finishing your conclusion, so that can be paragraph 4. And then it tells you 2 things to do down here. You can actually ignore those because you're writing based on the criteria that I gave you. So I just really like this for these words that can help you as you're transitioning. They're called transition words. As you're transitioning through your writing, here's great words to use because you are comparing and contrasting. For social studies this week, you're using pages 156 to 169. That's lessons 5 and 6. And then we are going to be completely done with Unit 4 of social studies. So lesson 5 focuses on Florida and World War II. And it has your vocabulary words. Dictator. Remember, look at your essential question. How does conflict affect people? What do you think? And you're going to go through and read through this week. Florida helps the war effort. So notice I'm just pretty much going through the text features with you. You are looking at the contributions Florida made to the war effort. Action close to home, which means this is going to be action that took place close to where? Florida. Hotels come in handy. Ooh, brownie points for you right now watching this video. If you know the name of the person we're going to hear when it comes to hotels, because we did his DBQ in class before you left for spring break. The first letter of his name starts with an H for his first name, and his last name starts with an F. And I'm going to give you a few seconds. His name is Henry Flagler. So you're going to see about Henry Flagler again. You should already know a lot about him because he contributed to Florida's hotels, railroads, and businesses. Then it gives you citizens help. So it tells you different things. And then they write a letter. You get to lesson 6, Florida and the Civil Rights Movement. And you get to learn about Miss Mary McLeod Bethune, which there is a historically Black college in Florida that is located in Daytona called Bethune-Cookman. So it's partly named after her. So notice we have a text feature here, a timeline. So it's going to tell you different events in her life. Working for civil rights. Fighting segregation. So now you're going to learn about James Weldon Johnson, who had an impact on the movement. And notice this says Fort Lauderdale, so that gives you a central location. And it's continuing from the last one. Protests continue. So we have actually learned a lot about civil rights this year in 4th grade, which I'm pretty proud of. So I want you to think back to Claudette, who refused to give her seat up before Rosa Parks. And then think about Rosa Parks, think about Martin Luther King Jr., think about all those people we've already read about this year as it comes to these kind of movements. And you're going to see again, they're going to say the word boycott, and you guys are pretty knowledgeable on that, but this is as it pertains to Florida. So the ones that we read about took place in Birmingham and over in Alabama, a couple states away. This is what took place in Florida. Leaders help. So they're showing you an old Florida governor, Leroy Collins, and how he helped. And then civil rights for others. And we have read about President Lyndon B. Johnson from our Storyworks. And then you have another text feature down here where it gives you dates, what happened, and why this is important. And then there's a timeline here. I'm going to put this in our Kahoot this week, so I'm just going to let you know that now. And then here's the wrap up. If you're a packet learner, you're doing the across to go across from this to that. If you are the distance online learner, then this is social studies assignment 6, and you are doing the multiple choice. So all these people connect here somehow, and this should be really easy because you guys know Henry Flagler. We've read about Ebor earlier in our social studies text. John Gorey was last week, so was Thomas Edison, so was Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, and then this week is James Weldon Johnson and Mary McLeod Bethune. So this should be pretty easy, quick review. And then that is the end of our week. So you have less assignments this week. I tried to condense it all. Hopefully everybody is able to get those assignments done and turned in. If you are at home and you need help with anything, please reach out to me on Remind and let me know. I'm here my 3 hours a day for anything. The best times to catch me are from 12 to 2 was the hours that I said. I might go, or it's 12 to 3. I might go from 11 to 2. Really, a school day, I'm available for you guys. So just message me, and as soon as I see it, I will get right back to you. If you're a packet learner and you have a question about something and you need my help, you can always take a picture of it and send it to me straight through Remind. I will be sending out Remind messages this week. I will be making another Kahoot, and then this will be posted on Remind so that you can go to my YouTube page and get help with your reading and text. I forgot to do my cheesy, like, welcome to my YouTube channel. You are joining me today from the Haunted Mansion, which I'm going to go this way. The Haunted Mansion, which is my favorite ride at Disney. These are my Haunted Mansion ears. But I love you guys. I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well and staying safe and healthy. Call me if you need anything. Well, call me. Message me if you need anything. Reach out to me. I will be live for my online learners tomorrow, Tuesday, and Thursday at 11. And then let me know if you guys liked the noon time, because I can keep getting on at noon instead of 11, but most of you were online early. And then I will have another Kahoot challenge that I'll put up probably tomorrow at the latest, and that will run to next Monday. Let me quickly pull up this week's Kahoot challenge so I can tell you our winner of the week. So I have 15 people do it. Tozy. Our winner from last week was Janika. So good job, Janika. You had the highest score. I'll be sending it out, so please do it. It's a good review. I will be helping you with things. Earlier in this video, I talked to you about the first person, second person, first and second hand accounts, because that was the struggle questions. I believe I kind of tricked you guys a little bit. If there is vocabulary that will go with this week, I will go watch the videos and then tell you which specific videos to watch for the week. And then that is all from me. Good job. I want to reiterate how proud I am of you guys. I want to tell your parents how much I appreciate you guys for working so hard and continuing as if we were in the school building. I know this is a hard and challenging time, but you guys are doing amazing. And I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. So keep up the good work, and I will see you guys like this again next Monday. But until then, as I said, reach out. Let me know if you need absolutely anything. I'm always here. Sending you a heart. Have an amazing week. Bye, guys.